Okay, so my lesson today is inspired by Joshua. So, Joshua, thank you so much for requesting Peter. My Bible studies this week, all of my children, we did a purely Peter-focused study, and I loved it. If anybody else has requests for different Bible stories or chapters or concepts or topics, even if they're modern day like topics that are kind of like, controversial topics, right? Please tell me and I will create sermons for you guys based on what you would like to hear. Okay? So, my sermon today is about Peter. So, Peter, as you know, is one of the disciples, right? You probably know him as the one that walked on water, the one that denied Jesus 3 times, right? Okay? So let's start at the beginning. We're going to go to Luke chapter 5, 1 through 11. One day as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon. Simon's also Peter, by the way, guys. And asked him to put out a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. So I'm going to stop here. One time, I remember somebody asked me, why does he have so many names? Why is he called Simon? Why is he called Peter? And I think at our church, because it's Korean, this makes so much sense. A lot of people in this church have an English name, like Joshua. And then, I forget your Korean name, but Sungmin. Yeah. So you have a Korean name and you have a English name, right? It's very similar back then. A lot of people had Roman names and then, Israelite names and so forth. So that's why the distinction of names. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets." So a lot of times, Mr. Joshua, my husband, likes to go fishing because we live in Alaska, right? And I know Brandon likes fishing. You're very good. You caught more fish than Joshua last year. I remember you were telling me you caught 30-something? Yeah, 30-something, right? Yeah. So that's more fish than Mr. Joshua caught. So a lot of times, Mr. Joshua is not very good at fishing. And so I can imagine they've been fishing all day. They've caught nothing, right? No fish, right? And it's a lot of work to drag those big heavy nets out, row the boat out there. They didn't have the powered boats with the motors, right? They didn't have all that. So he actually listens to Jesus and cast out his net. He showed obedience. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. That's way more than 30 fish. That's a lot of fish. That's hundreds of fish in these boats. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell to Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." I thought this was interesting, and when I did this study with my kids, I stopped. And they said, "Mommy, why didn't he just say, 'Thank you, Jesus, you're amazing,' right?" Instead, they said, "Go away from me, Jesus, I am a sinful man," because he felt unworthy. He's like, "I'm not worthy of this blessing that you just gave me." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken. And so were James and John, and the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. James and John's brothers that were also become disciples. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid, for now on you will fish for people." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him. They left everything. They left their boats. They left that giant catch of fish that was worth so much money. They left their families. They left everything, and they just followed Jesus, right? We call that obedience. Obedience. So the next one. This is almost a test for Peter. Remember, we're studying Peter once again. Matthew 14:22 through 33. Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into a boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Captain Harry's been talking about praying a lot. If Jesus needed to pray, we need to pray. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went on the mountain to pray by himself. Now, when evening came, he was alone there. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, and the wind was contrary. That means there was a storm. The boat's getting tossed around. Jesus was, up here praying, and then, oh my gosh, the boat drifted out all the way to the middle of the sea with the disciples, all without Jesus. Now, in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them walking on the sea. God does not conform to the laws of nature. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were very troubled, saying, "It is a ghost," and they cried out in fear. I can imagine. I would be pretty terrified too, seeing something walk on the water towards me, right? But immediately Jesus spoke to them and said, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid." Do not be afraid. He also told Peter that back when they dropped everything and followed him. Do not be afraid. But Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." So he said, "Come." And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. And when he saw that the wind was boisterous, that means he saw that the storm around him was crazy, like, whoa, how am I walking on the water in the middle of this storm? That's crazy, right? Guess what? He was afraid. And Jesus had told him, "Don't be afraid." But he became afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." So he started to drown. He couldn't walk on the water anymore. The second he took his eyes off Jesus, noticed the storm, and became afraid, he started to sink. This is a good metaphor to when terrible things happen in your life and you forget to turn to God, right? Oh no, I got in a car wreck. Oh no, my grandma died. Oh no, I got really bad grades or got hurt, or, like Hudson having surgery, right? And I forget to turn to Jesus, so I start to sink, right? But he did remember to say, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. So when he pulled him back into the boat, the whole storm just stopped. We've seen that many times where Jesus stops the storms, right? He has power over nature. And then those who were in the boat came and worshiped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." So this is how Jesus, if we follow the story of Peter, it's almost revealing us how Jesus is revealing himself to the disciples, that he is the Messiah, right? And in this next chapter we're going to study, they're going to figure out he is the Messiah, but he doesn't tell them who he is, right? He doesn't tell them, "Hey, guess what? I'm the Son of God sent here to save the world." They figure it out all on their own. Ready? Matthew 16:13 through 20. When Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" So basically, like, "Hey, Joshua, what do they say about me at church? Who do they say I am at church," right? Like, he wants to know, like, hey, what does everybody else think about me, right? So this is what the disciples say. They say, "Oh, some say that you're John the Baptist." Wrong answer. Some say he's Elijah. Others say he's Jeremiah or one of the prophets. Once again, all these answers are wrong, right? But people have their own opinions of who this guy is. Who is this Jesus? Oh, he must be John the Baptist because he does these miracles and heals people, right? Like, who is he? He said to them, "But who do you say I am?" Because you know what? The disciples knew him. They walked with him. They saw his miracles. They spent time with Jesus. But okay, they say I'm all these other things, Elijah, John the Baptist, but who did you say I was, right? Like, are you going to listen to what they say? Or are you going to feel what, you know I am, right? Simon Peter answered him and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus did not give him the answer. He knew the answer because Jesus answered him and said, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, For flesh and blood has not revealed this to you. Flesh and blood means another human being. Like, Ashley didn't come up to me and say, hey, guess what? That's the Son of God. Flesh and blood did not reveal it to him. Nobody told him the answer to the question, right? But my Father who is in heaven. So he just told him, my Father, so God himself told Simon Peter that is my son, that is the Son of God. So this is one of two things. Number one, that the disciples are figuring out who Jesus is, number one. And number two, it also shows us that God can actually speak to us. Yeah, he does. God can speak to you. If you ask God to help you with a problem, he will give you an answer. If you ask God to show you a way out of something, he will give you an answer. God can speak to you. My sister, she wanted to give up cigarettes, right? Terrible habit. Never smoke cigarettes. Miss Candace has never smoked cigarettes, but it's a terrible habit. Okay? And my sister wanted to give it up, which is very hard for people to give it up because once they start, it's very hard to quit, right? So my sister, she smokes the cigarettes. She says, oh, Candace, I want to give up cigarettes. I don't know what to do. I said, pray to God. Ask him how to, right? And I kid you not, every single commercial that turned on TV was about anti-smoking, ways to give up cigarettes. Every single commercial, right? And then she went to the store to get her cigarettes. And people who smoke cigarettes like a certain brand and a certain whatever, they're very particular, right? And she went, and guess what? That one pack of cigarettes that she wanted was all out of stock. And the guy behind the counter didn't have them. And she says, okay, God, I'm listening. You want me to give up smoking, right? And so God, if you ask him, like he asked her, God, do you want me to give up smoking? He gave her an answer, right? Yeah. And she called me and she's like, so I asked God and he showed me all these commercials. And then at the gas station, they were completely out of cigarettes. And I'm like, well, I said, if he gave you an answer, you best listen, right? Right, best listen. So basically, God told Simon Peter, this is my son. And this is, he is the Son of God. And I also say to you that you are Peter. And this is interesting. And on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. Peter is also going to be preferred as the rock. It's kind of like a nickname. I'm sure everybody has a nickname, right? Anybody not have a nickname in here? No? No? Nicknames? Yeah? Okay. So, rock is going to be the nickname of Peter. Rock is strong. It's a foundation word. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Then he commanded his disciples that they should tell no one that he was the Jesus, the Christ. So he said, don't tell everybody. You know why he said don't tell them? Because it wasn't his time yet to be revealed. There was going to be a time when people would know he was Jesus, the Son of God, but it wasn't now. Okay, here we go. Matthew 26, 31 through 35. Then Jesus said to them, all of you will be made to stumble because of me this night, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have been raised, I will go before you in Galilee. So he's telling them basically I'm going to be killed, right? But I'm going to come back to life, and I'm going to meet you in Galilee. Sunday school's a little loud over there. People answered and said to him, even if all are made to stumble because of you, Lord, I will never be made to stumble. You will see, oh Peter, he's all or nothing. We call this like black and white, right? He's either all for it or all against it. He's not kind of in the middle, right? We have people around us that are kind of like this today. I think Miss Candace is a little bit like this. I'm more black and white. I'm less in the middle. So he says, I won't be made to stumble. Everybody else will, but not me. Jesus said to him, assuredly I say to you that this night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. The number 3, there is a whole study in the Bible on numbers. It's so interesting. Number 3, it took Jesus 3 days to be raised from the dead, right? Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, 3. 3 is a very symbolic number. So you will deny me 3 times. Peter said to him, even if I have to die with you, I won't deny you. And so said all the disciples. So all the disciples were like, we won't deny you. Like, we'll die with you, Christ. It's okay. So when it comes down to it, though, that's not what's going to happen. That's what we're going to see next. John 18, 1 through 11. This is when they come to arrest Jesus. We're going to see what Peter does when we arrest Jesus. I want to see if you guys know. Ashley, wake up. Do you know what Peter did when they went to arrest Jesus? What did Peter do? Does anybody know? It's pretty dramatic. Actually, very dramatic. Okay. Nobody knows. We're going to go on. When Jesus had spoken these words, he went out to his disciples over the brook Kidron, and there was a garden, which he and his disciples entered. And Judas, who had betrayed him, right? Judas, remember him? The other disciple? The 30 pieces of silver. Here's Jesus on a silver platter. Here you go, Pharisees. Go ahead and kill him. Also knew the place, for Jesus often met there with his disciples. Then Judas, having received a detachment of troops, so he got some soldiers, officers from the chief priests, and the Pharisees came there with their lanterns, their torches, and their weapons. That's pretty intimidating. And Jesus, therefore, knowing all things that would come upon him, went forward and said to them. So he knew what they were there for. It wasn't a mystery. It wasn't like, oh, are they here for, just to celebrate? No. Whom are you seeking, he said. And they answered him, Jesus of Nazareth, right? And Jesus said to them, I am he. And Judas, who betrayed him, also stood with them. Now when he said to them, I am he, they drew back and fell on the ground. Yeah. Then he asked them again, whom are you seeking? Who are you here for? Right? He's basically challenging them. And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. I'm here to collect him. I need to get Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. Therefore, if you seek me, let these go their way. He's basically saying, let the disciples go their way. If you're after me, just take me. They're not involved, right? You got it? They're not involved. Hey, you're here to seek me. Take me. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Because he knew it was coming, right? That the saying might be fulfilled, which he spoke, of those whom you gave me, I have lost none. Then, here's Simon Peter's part. Okay, so we set the stage. He's getting arrested. Here's all the bad guys with the torches and the swords, right? Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it out and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Yeah, that's pretty dramatic. He's like, yeah, you're not taking Jesus. Wham! Right? You know what, though? I could understand because it would make me angry, too. Like, if somebody came in this church and, like, they're like, oh, Joshua's coming with us. Like, and I'd be like, hello. No, he's not. Like, I don't know if I'd cut off their ear, but, like, I would definitely try to stop them, right? Like, if they came to get Jesus and he was my best friend, I'd be pretty mad, too, wouldn't you? You wouldn't just be like, oh, yeah, here, have him. Right? No, you'd be like, chop his ear off. Okay, so Simon Peter got pretty dramatic and he chopped the ear off. So Jesus said to him, put your sword into the sheath. So put your sword back, Peter. Shall I not drink the cup which my Father has given me? He says, you know what? God sent me here to take this cup, which is very bitter, drink it, and die on the cross to save you from your sins. I need to do this, right? Don't fight it. It needs to happen for a reason. Stop fighting it, Peter. Now, the interesting part is, does anybody know what happened after the ear was cut off? Jesus performed his very last miracle, and he went up to the priest that had his ear cut off, and he put his hand over the priest's ear, and it grew back. And that is Jesus's last miracle before the cross. And if you want to know why he did this, it's actually very important. So if you, back then, had harmed like a Roman citizen, especially somebody like high up, like a soldier or priest or a Pharisee, like somebody really high up, right? And you had harmed them, you would be put to death, right? So Jesus didn't just grow back the guy's ears because he felt bad for the guy or he wanted the guy to have his ear again, right? Do you know why he grew back the guy's ears? Because what did I just say? If anybody harmed one of these officials, they would be put to death. So who harmed the official? So who would be put to death? Peter. He did the last miracle and saved the guy's ear, not for the guy or because he deserved his ear back and blah, blah, blah. He wanted to protect Peter because he loved Peter, right? So when that guy was like, oh my gosh, Peter cut off my ear. And they'll be like, well, which ear? Because you have both. Where's your proof? Well, he did. He cut off my ear. He cut off. Okay, well, I see you have both your ears. So you're, right? Where's your proof? He took away the proof that they would have had against Simon Peter to put him to death, right? And that's just amazing. It just shows you Jesus loved his disciples to the very end. He was still thinking about them. While he was about to be put on the cross, he was thinking about Simon Peter, right? And what would happen to him. This is about the denial part, that three times before the rooster crows. Luke 22, 54 to 62. So remember, Jesus got taken away. Having arrested him, they led him, meaning Jesus, and brought him into the high priest's house. But Peter followed them at a distance. He's kind of like following, like, hey, I want to see what happens to Jesus, right? Because if they just arrested one of you guys, I'd be like following behind them in the car, like, where are they taking him? I want to see where they're going, right? You would just be like, okay, bye, see you later. You would try to figure out, where are they taking him? What are they going to do to him, right? How can I break him out, right? Now, when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat among them. So he's actually sitting with the people that had betrayed Jesus and arrested him, right? So he's sitting there. And a certain servant girl, seeing him as he sat by the fire, looked intently at him. She's staring at him I think I know you. This man was also with him. So she calls him out, right? I think at this point, any one of us would have been afraid, right? Because we just saw what happened to Jesus. They arrested him and took him away, right? Hey, that one. He is Captain Harry's son. I know him. He's Captain Harry's son. And you'd be like, no, that was this other guy. No, that's not me, right? Because Captain Harry just got arrested and going to be put to death. And you're like, I'm not associated with him. So this is what Peter's going to do. He's going to say, but Peter denied him, saying, woman, I do not know him. Which, as we know, is a lie. He does know Jesus, and he knows him very well, right? But he lied, and I think he lied because he was afraid. He was afraid for his own life, right? Even though he had told Jesus, when we go back to what we had just read, he told Jesus, I will not deny you. Even if I'm put to death, I will not betray you, Christ, right? So there he goes. He betrayed him. That's the first time. And after a little while, another saw him, and he said, you also are of them. So another person in the crowd's like, hey, I'm staring at him. You know what? You're right, little girl. He does look familiar, don't he? You are one of them. Yeah, you're one of them. So he gets called out again. But Peter said to him, man, I am not. And he's really adamant. Hey, I'm not with them. I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not with him. I don't know this Jesus guy, right? You guys are crazy. I'm just here to just hang out by the fire. You guys leave me alone, right? So he denies him a second time. Ugh. Then, after about an hour had passed, so he's still sitting there, and he's still hanging out with him. Hour had passed. Another very confidently affirmed, saying, surely this fellow also was with him because he is a Galilean. Remember, many of the disciples were Galileans, okay? I know he was one of them because he's a Galilean. Peter gets a third chance to tell them the truth. But Peter said, man, I do not know what you are saying. So he denies denies him a third time. He's like, I don't even know what you're saying. Just stop. Just, y'all leave me alone. I don't know what you're saying. I'm not with this Jesus guy. Immediately after he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. I can actually crow like a rooster. Yeah, I used to live on a farm. And a rooster crowed. If you've ever heard a rooster crow, it's not like a little like mouse squeak. It's very loud, okay? Right? We used to live on a farm in Pennsylvania, and I had hundreds of chickens and roosters running around, and I had like 3 or 4 roosters. And every morning, all the roosters would be like, and it's like, it wakes you up, right? So this giant rooster just starts crowing. And at that time, and the Lord turned and looked at Peter, and Peter remembered the word the Lord who had said to him. So at this point, he didn't remember anything that Jesus had said. Okay, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crowed. He had forgotten all about that, right? He had forgotten all about that. But when the rooster crowed, it was like that signaled in his memory what Jesus had said, right? Oh my goodness, Jesus had said I would do this, and I did exactly what he said I would do, even though I said I wouldn't, right? Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. So Peter went out and wept bitterly. You know why he wept bitterly? Because he felt guilty. He felt like he had betrayed Jesus, and to be honest, he had. He had betrayed Jesus. And this story is very important because if one of Jesus's disciples, one of his best disciples, he said, this is my rock. Peter, you are my rock. You're going to be the foundation for what we build, right? He betrayed Jesus. So if Jesus got betrayed by him, the man who walked with him, his best friend, shared meals with him, got to know him personally, how easy it is for us to betray Jesus, right? Yeah. John 21:15-17. So when they had eaten breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me more than these? Interesting. He said to him, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. So it's like kind of like sometimes my little kid comes up to me, Mommy, do you love me? Yes, I love you. Of course I love you, right? So Jesus is like, hey, Simon Peter, don't you love me? Yes, Lord, you know I love you, right? He said to him, feed my lambs. He's not talking about actual sheep. People are his sheep, okay? He's the shepherd. We are the sheep. He said to him again a second time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me? So second time, just like denied 3 times. Remember the numbers 3, 3, right? Second time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me? At this point, it's like if I ask you a question, you give me the answer, and I ask you the same question again, right? You're going to be starting to get a little frustrated. He said to him, yes, Lord, you know I love you, right? Like I just answered you, right? Then tend my sheep, Jesus said. Tend my sheep. Tend them. Then he said to him a third time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me? Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, do you love me? And so at this point, I'm sure he's frustrated. He's upset. He's sad. He's like, why does Jesus keep asking me the same question over and over again? If you've ever had your parents do that, it's like really frustrating, right? It's like, you just asked me this. I gave you my answer. Like, okay, for the third time. So Peter's like, okay, for the third time. And he said to him, Lord, you know all things, and you know that I love you, right? You already know that I love you, Lord. You know all things. And Jesus said to him, feed my sheep. So number 1, we have 3 times. 3 times he asked him, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And each time the answer was the same. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And Jesus' response is the same every time. Well, feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. Feed my sheep. So if you want to show Jesus that you love him, it's by bringing other people to God. It's what I'm doing right now, standing in front of this youth class, telling you about Jesus, bringing you to salvation. God wants not no one to perish, but to everyone to have everlasting life, right? So he is leaving this message because he knows that he will be ascending soon, that he will be going back to heaven. He won't be here. And the disciples will be left. And the world they are getting left in is not a kind world to people who believe in Jesus. In fact, they're persecuted. They're crucified. They're put to death. They're stoned to death. They're ridiculed. They're hated. Right? So he's like, even though all these things come to you, you will still need to tend my sheep. Teach other people about me, right? So, another interesting story that I had written down was a little bit about Peter. I had like lots of different stories. This one I'm not going to read the whole verse, but we did this story, I think it was 2 nights ago, my kids. Has anybody heard about the fish? And the taxes? Maybe? Okay. So, back in Jesus' day, the Romans were in control. Everybody knows the Romans, right? And there was this thing called taxes, right? We have them today where every year, okay, you make this paycheck, give some taxes, it helps make the roads and the schools and everything, you know, right? Okay? And I'm not saying taxes are a bad thing, because without them it would be really hard for our government or our state to function, okay? So back then the Romans had taxes, right? So they come to Peter and they're like, well, is your master too good to pay taxes, right? And Peter's like, oh no, he'll pay taxes. So Peter tries to come back in the house of his own house. He's at his, his own house. And Jesus stops him and Jesus says, nope, don't come inside. He says, hey, you told them I would pay taxes? And he's like, oh yeah. And Jesus is like, okay, well here's what you're going to do, okay? You're going to go get a single hook and a fishing line. And you're going to toss it in the water. And one fish, the first fish that bites that hook, you're going to pull it out. And when you pull it out, there's going to be a coin in that fish's mouth. And it's going to be exactly enough taxes to pay for me, meaning Jesus, and Peter, right? So Peter left, he was obedient, he threw the hook in, and sure enough, a coin came out of that fish's mouth. Yes! And he paid his taxes. This is interesting, because Peter was once a fisherman, but he used to fish with these big giant nets. You wouldn't see Peter very often fishing with like just a string and a hook. That wasn't like his MO. His MO was like more like commercial fisherman, big boat, big net, right? But he was obedient yet alone, and he paid the taxes for him and Jesus. So just one of Jesus's small little miracles that Peter would have witnessed. Let's see what else I have about Peter. Son of the living God, walks on water. In Acts 3:12 through 16, Peter heals a crippled man in Jesus' name. So he is able to perform miracles. That's about Jude and James. So that's pretty much what I have about Peter. Is there any questions? I just want to say too, Peter was one of his best disciples, but he was also failing Jesus all the time. I mean, he failed him when he walked on the water and sank. He failed him when he denied Jesus 3 times. There was multiple times where Jesus fell short of what Peter fell short of what Jesus needed him to be. And I think a lot of times we fall short. But Jesus still loves us. He still forgives us. And he always has a way out of it for us. And at the very end where Jesus was confirming, do you love me 3 times? He wasn't doing it to make a point or rub salt into Peter's wounds about denying him. He was teaching him, you do love me. Even though you denied me, I know you love me, right? I know you still love me. I know what's in your heart, Peter. You still love me. Yeah. So that is all for today for Peter.